My next guests are two incredible creatives making a real impact in theatre and inclusivity. Lauren McKenna, an award-nominated director and performer, and Tyler Chapman, a dynamic educator and entertainment professional, are here to share their journey with Stars and the Moon, Melbourne's only all-abilities music theatre company. Welcome to Showtime, Lauren and Tyler. Can you start by telling me what inspired the start of Stars and the Moon?
So Stars and the Moon was started by a guy named Eitan Meyerowitz, who was a Jewish guy who was really involved in the community and just wanted to make a space where him and his cousin, who had Down syndrome, could also be main roles in a theatre show together. And he realized that something like this didn't exist because they were both huge performers who love being on stage. And he thought, why don't I just make it? I've got a big community of friends who all love being in shows. And it's quite common that we also do a lot of volunteering in the disability sort of community. So he said, let's just get our connections and start what will be the beginning of Stars and the Moon. And the first show they did was Susical, which then got unfortunately, during the time of COVID, there were a lot of disturbances to the process, but it just started from there, and it started to grow and expand from just the Jewish community to the wider community. And I know you said it's Melbourne's only all abilities theatre company, but I would actually argue it's probably Australia's only all abilities musical theatre company, because you look at all the other companies out there, and there is no other company that includes deaf performers or blind performers, or is able to facilitate as many wheelchair users as we have, or the high level of support of the autism or neurodivergency or any intellectual disabilities that we have. And we are able to do that through a castmate model, which I'm sure we'll be able to touch a bit later on. But that's how we started.
Tell me more about that castmate model and what inspired that approach to create this type of theatre.
Yeah, so the castmate model, Lauren, you want to?
No, I mean, you can go for it, Tyler. We've spoken a lot about the castmate model and what makes it unique and what makes it special. And we believe that we're the only people in the world who are making theatre in this way. So our castmate model is two or more performers creating and shaping a role together, exploring a role together on stage, supporting each other, and at least one of them identifies with being disabled or with a disability or neurodivergent. So we basically allow a space for everyone to shine and thrive together, but all of those support needs are being met and exceeded, and it's a really safe and accessible space for everybody. And it really was inspired by Eitan and his cousin Zach.
And how does that work from an audience experience perspective? Is it two or more performers in one character, or do they share lines, or do they have different nights on? How does that work?
So it really has to be experienced to be believed. It is really, really different. And the way that we make theatre, I think, is really inspiring, and I think inclusion just makes things better for everybody. So it really is about these two performers being on stage together. So last year, for example, we did the Addams Family, and we did have two Gomez's and two Morticias and two Wednesdays. And it's a really amazing opportunity for creativity, because normally when you'd have one performer on stage singing a soliloquy song or doing a monologue, you actually are allowed to play with the art making and the creativity, and it might be a character sort of talking it over with their castmate or with their fellow performer. So it really just allows for so much play in terms of the creatives, and then also for the audience, they see these two completely different sides of the character. So it's really magical, I think.
What do you think have been some of the impact, some of the real sort of tangible impacts that Stars and the Moon has had on the performers involved?
It's such a good question, because I think one of my favorite things about Stars and the Moon is hearing the impacts it has on the individuals who wouldn't be given the opportunity to go on stage if it wasn't for us. Not only are we giving them an opportunity to perform and giving a voice to a marginalized group that are often not given that voice and not given that time to really be pushed at a really high level sort of quality, it's the impact is just so different to every single person. You have some who, they come to us and they might be described to us as being nonverbal, and then they sing a song to us. And that is huge because the personal growth that they're getting from this experience is just to grow their independence and be able to go out in society and be more capable individuals. It's about being able to get a community and a social group and form uh, some friendships that they might not necessarily get, and they might have a lot of social isolation without us. The impact is so significant and different to every single person that comes, but the impact's also on our audience, right? You come through the door and you are blown away by what you see. And then my favorite part is hearing from people who are in the audience afterwards, who go up to some of our performers to say congratulations and say hi to them, and they think, oh my gosh, this person couldn't even look me in the eyes, couldn't put together a sentence, couldn't, like, they're nothing what I saw on stage. Like, how did they do that? And I'm like, well, what you see is what people have been working on for so long, and you see how hard they have pushed to get to this point. I think the impact is also on our performers who give support as well. They are learning to be better performers and how to put other people before themselves. They're learning how to become more adaptive in their styles. As creatives and in inclusion support, Lauren and I are constantly developing our practices to be more accessible and inclusive to individuals in our society. And I mean, one example I can think of is last year when we had never worked with someone who was blind before, and Lauren ran at the challenge and was like, I'm going to cast her as Wednesday Addams. Like, we are going to just go full on, and learning that experience of, all right, how can we make the floors tactile? How can we use different sort of cues to be able to make this a more accessible experience for her? We started working with the deaf community and looking at how a singing and a dancing and an acting audition is going to change is crazy. You think about how they're going to get into a room and how they're going to hear the song and be able to learn the dance and perform that. And one of the things that we have now thought of is, let's get a screen up with the karaoke words so they can follow along as we're doing it, or let's use lights to be able to know when their cues are. So there are so many things that we're also learning, and we're being impacted in ways to grow our expertise too.
It sounds to me like for you, for Stars on the Moon, accessibility and inclusion is a lot more than simply who you cast in the show.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot that goes into just the processes on the outside. And that is from the auditions. That is also from the audience experience when you come in, making sure that we have an Auslan interpreted performance, that we have a relaxed show that we're looking at doing this year, that we have maybe an area outside of the auditorium where people can have a more relaxed watching as well. So it's really thinking about everything as a whole. Also, we think about, now we're going to be doing a design club, and there are people who don't want to be on stage, but they're really great designers, and making that accessible, thinking about the venues, thinking about the costumes and people's sensory needs. Like, there is so much that goes into planning this show and being able to facilitate something like this. So every performer that comes through the door or volunteer has to have a meet and greet with me, and that is a chance for us to work out who they're going to be a great castmate with, because there are three things that really go into being able to give the best sort of castmate. It's Lauren's vision for the show and seeing creatively who she wants as her lead roles and who she wants in each kind of role for the show. Then we've also got to think about the castmates' suitability. Are these two people going to gel together? Are they going to be able to support each other? What sort of help might we need or support might we need there? And then there's also being able to make sure that our performers who are giving support are going to enjoy that and enjoy the person that they're supporting. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think so far we've done a really great job, but we're always learning and we're always growing.
It sounds to me like you're doing an incredible job, and you know, so many people seem to get so much out of it at so many different levels. I imagine it's incredibly rewarding for both of you.
It's amazing. I came onto the show last year to do Addams Family, and I had never really worked in the disability space before. I've been a freelance director for 10 or more years, and I came on board with a really, really open mind and just absolutely fell in love with this community. Everyone is so inspiring, from everyone on stage to the whole entire team. And now I'm the artistic director, so it's honestly such a dream job, and a dream job I didn't even think I had until I was welcomed into this community. So it's really just magical, and it's making such a difference on so many levels.
So your next production's Shrek. Why Shrek?
Shrek is just so much fun. I think we really wanted to do something that was really different visually, aesthetically, vibe-wise to Addams Family. We've obviously had a really great time in that dark sort of kooky space, and we wanted to do something, well, I mean, I sort of tried to really steer the ship this way of doing something really bright and fun, and there is really an opportunity for so many different abilities to shine in this show, because each ensemble character brings their own flavor, and we obviously just have so many different types of performers to choose from in our community. And so that was kind of the main reason. I just think it has a real vibrant, sort of heartwarming feel, and lots of great parts, lots of cameo parts, especially in the fairy tale ensemble. And as well, the message is so wonderful. It's about that true beauty is from within, which is so important. It's about finding your chosen family. It's about what makes us unique, makes us special. So I think it really kind of speaks to what our mission is about as well at Stars on the Moon.
In a practical way, how are you going to implement that castmate model in Shrek?
So there will be 2 or more performers playing every single role. In the fairy tale characters, there's also some opportunities to have some trios. So we've got things like the 3 bears, the 3 little pigs, to make sure everyone's support needs are being met. There potentially might be some higher support needs performers who we might put in trios to really allow them to shine and to create these characters as a little 3. And you're going to see Shrek like you've never seen it before. It's really, really different, but I think there is an opportunity. I mean, we're in the process of casting it. There is a real opportunity for different types of performers to create these roles together, whether they be non-verbal, whether they be wheelchair users. We keep an open mind when we cast the show, and it's more about essence rather than ability. And it'll be a really unique and special production.
Yeah, and just touching on what Lauren said, I think another point that we really try and strive for at Stars on the Moon is making sure we have equal representation of all the different disabilities, whether they are high, low support, and making sure that there is a place for everyone, because we are all abilities. That's not to say in our castmate model that you couldn't identify as having a disability and be a support giver. We actually encourage people who identify as having a disability or being disabled or neurodivergent to always apply for those roles, and to apply to, if we're ever running workshops, because we love to see that representation in those positions. But of course, we have to make sure that whoever they're supporting is someone that's going to be safe and comfortable. So there is a lot that goes into that.
So by the time people are watching and listening to this conversation, you'll already be well into the casting process. But for next time, someone that's always wanted to be on stage but has never felt that it's for them, what would you say to them?
I would say come and audition at Stars on the Moon. We just love to see new faces, and there really is a place for everyone. Even if this particular musical that we're casting isn't for you, we have so many different programs that we offer throughout the year, and we are constantly evolving and growing what we offer. Tyler touched on our design club a little bit earlier, which is a chance for people who want to be a budding designer and want to learn all about stagecraft in terms of set and costume and props and things like that. There's always a chance to be part of the production, even if you don't make it on stage. But also we offer a showcase program. We did our inaugural showcase last year at the magnificent St Kilda Town Hall, and that was a really amazing opportunity for performers who hadn't been involved with Stars on the Moon to dip their toe in, so to speak. It's a much shorter commitment. It's not as all-encompassing as our Inclusical that we do every year, but there are so many opportunities, and we would say, come one, come all, and give it a go, because we have performers who have never been on stage before, and they end up having the most amazing time and showing their talents and skills, and really growing as performers as they work with us.
We've talked about the audition process briefly. We've talked about the performance and the castmate model. But there's that 5 months in between when the cast are locked in and they're learning the show. They're learning the dance steps. They're learning the lyrics. They're learning the lines. They're learning the blocking out, all the stuff that goes on in a production. How do you support neurodivergent and disabled people through that entire process?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Firstly, we only start rehearsing in May, and Lauren's taken a great approach this year to do a lead intensive, and that's to kind of really take the pressure off volunteers for a commitment, and to take off this, because it is a really long time to be rehearsing. So it takes pressure off everyone's schedules. So that's already going to help significantly with how many people always have to be in a room, and managing a lot of different support needs. When we start in June, July, and August, that's when things start to ramp up. Again, we're going to have these different ensemble groups that will then only come on their night. So the commitment for a volunteer is really only one night a week and every second Sunday. But from an inclusion perspective, we have a fabulous team that's always at the rehearsals. And this year, we really looked at having inclusion coordinators who were either professional performers or had a love for performing arts, but also had that experience in the disability sector, which is a really niche thing to find. We have an incredible inclusion team that are always at all of the rehearsals. So we've got Cassie, Zach, Cameron, and Emily, and a lot of them have performing arts training and have been in professional shows, and they also have disability experience. So they're able, when our volunteers are away, to step in for those castmates and facilitate that extra support. They're all first aid trained, so we also are capable in being able to administer any basic medical support that people need. But really, the castmates are really central to making this experience possible. And I think anyone who comes to give support is literally creating another spot for another performer to be on stage. And that is so important. And at the start of our rehearsals, we do a training, which is run by my team. And we give you the basic tools and strategies for people who might have never ever worked with people who identify as having disabilities. And you can go over basic techniques, getting to know your castmate a little bit better, and working out what's the best sort of way to approach them and support them in learning their role. And throughout the show, we have sensory rooms at every rehearsal that you can kind of go to and have a bit of a zen if you need it. We've got a big toolbox that has noise cancelling headphones, fidget toys. So there's always things that we're doing at our rehearsals to make sure that we can facilitate a positive experience. And also having a team of experts like Lauren who are open to working and learning and growing and taking advice from different deaf consultants or inclusion professionals who will lead us in those processes.
On that note as well, I think me and my team, we're constantly evolving and learning how we create as well, because one thing we learned last year for Addams Family was I love to have the collaboration. I really love to have a lot of different voices in the room and to hear all of the ideas of the actors. However, once we've locked something in, it's really important to a lot of the artists in our community that it stays as similar as possible. So that's one thing that has been really, really different. You can't sort of constantly change and note the performers. I think it's really about giving them confidence in what we've created together, and then to some extent locking it in. I think that's probably something that's been different about the way I work, but we're constantly leveling up and being able to support everyone to do their best work.
Which, for those of us who have made theatre, know that that's a bloody hard thing to do, because there are all sorts of moving parts, and then you get into a theatre, you bump in, you start teching a show, and things have to change because it's a different physical space to where the cast have rehearsed. How do you cater for that? Because you can't avoid that, can you?
So, well, you can't avoid it. Absolutely not. I mean, we try our best to retain the product as much as we possibly can. However, you're right. When we get into the theatre, things obviously are going to shift and change. the first call that we do in the theatre space is just a spacing call. And to be honest, this is an example of how accessibility actually makes things better for everyone. I would highly recommend to all of my directors out there, all of my choreographers out there, to do this kind of spacing call in the space before you just jump into a tech or a dry tech or anything like that. It's a chance for everyone without the distraction of light and sound to just walk through their track in the space. So something as simple as that gives people confidence and can really lock in the spacing, tape out what we need to tape out, rather than just throwing all of these elements at the performers at once. So that's definitely something that is really, really valuable in terms of getting into the theatre.
Have you had to adapt the show in order for it to be more accessible?
In terms of allocating the lines, we definitely have had to. We present the show as it's licensed. However, the split of the characters is obviously going to be different depending on the castmate pairing. So that was a process that was really daunting to me before I did it. However, as soon as we got our cast locked in for Addams Family, I just sat down at the computer and it just kind of poured out of me, because you have a vision, you've met these performers and fallen in love with them and seen what they bring to the character. And then it's just a matter of splitting up the content. So some castmate pairings, it might be pretty close to 50-50. It might be one performer has 100% of the lines and songs, but the other performer is creating more of a non-verbal interpretive movement kind of performance. It could be a 70-30 split. So depending on the support needs and the skill and talents of all of our amazing performers, that's kind of how we adapt the show.
And what would you say to someone who is listening to this and they don't quite know what to expect? If they're coming to see Shrek by Stars and the Moon, what would you say to them? What would someone be expecting to see?
Well, the thing is, no one show is ever going to be the same, because that's the fun of it, right? You expect the unexpected, because anything could happen. You might have someone on stage who has a meltdown. You might have someone on stage who misses their cue. Luckily, we have always had really great practices, but it's happened. It's happened in the past. I would say book tickets to multiple shows if you want to see something great every night that's different. But Shrek is so fun. It's colorful. It's sending a message out to people that you can be cool for being a freak. You don't have to fit into the societal mode, and you can still be great. Lauren, I'm sure you've got way more ideas on how the show will be presented.
Yes, I always say that we are, as a company, we are delightfully unpredictable. So I think people come along and it is going to be different every single performance, more so than traditional theatre, I suppose. But the people that I have invited along to the show are so blown away by the excellence. That's something that we really strive for at Stars on the Moon. We have really high expectations for all of our performers. And I think there's potentially a bit of an attitude when people are coming to see All Abilities Theatre that it's just about everyone getting on stage and having a go. But they come out of these shows saying that was one of the best things I've ever seen. So, not to toot our own horn or anything, but it's really special and magic, and has to be seen to be believed.
And it sounds to me like, whilst there is obviously an emphasis on accessibility and inclusion, it's also still very much about storytelling and creating a really positive audience experience.
Absolutely. Yes, we are so excited to present Shrek. I think it has so many amazing elements visually and aesthetically. I think it is quite ambitious. I think probably people are thinking, how are they going to do Shrek? So that's something that really appeals to me. It's like the curiosity might get people on seats as well. But we're just so excited. It's such an amazing show with an amazing message and, wonderful songs and characters.
I'm chatting with Lauren McKenna and Tyler Chapman about Stars on the Moon's production of Shrek. It'll be on from the 24th to the 31st of August at Alexander Theatre at Clayton Monash campus. For more info and to book tickets, starsonthemoon.org. Tyler, Lauren, thank you so much. Congratulations on everything that you're doing in this space and in this community. It's admirable, it's inspiring, and I just can't wait to see not only what the two of you do, what the whole group does, and what these incredible performers can do.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate the support so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on. And the one last message I'd leave any listeners with is come see the show, because I promise you've never seen something like it, and you will walk out thinking about theatre in a whole different way.